Welcome back to the channel. Today I have 9 scary stories of the black-eyed children. Number 1, children in the snow. Brandon Riley. In January 2016, a woman in Vermont made the tragic mistake of letting 2 black-eyed children into her home. A blizzard was raging outside when she heard a faint knock on the front door. A boy and a girl stood there, shivering, begging to use a phone. And unnerved by their presence, the woman nevertheless let them in and went to retrieve her phone. After the children walked into the light of the family room, the woman realized their eyes were completely black. As she stared at them in horror, her husband's nose began to bleed out at the same time that the power suddenly went out. After what felt like an eternity, the children spoke in unison, saying their parents had arrived. The woman watched to quietly left her house, and entered a nondescript black car with a man in a suit. Not long after the strange encounter, the woman's husband was diagnosed with severe skin cancer. The woman began to suffer from regular nosebleeds and an onslaught of other medical issues. She convinced her failing health, along with her husband's, is the result of the black-eyed children who were unwittingly let into their home. Story 2. All work and no play. In 2010, a man known as Neotic encountered the black-eyed teenagers outside his place of work. It was on an ordinary July night in Ohio, and I'm not going to say his name. It was in the middle of a night shift, craving a cigarette. So he stepped outside the building and noticed 2 teenage boys across the street. As he smoked, he realized that the boys, they were staring at him. Weary, he returned to the safety of his cubicle and tried to refocus on his work, only to see through the security cameras that the boys had appeared in front of his building, motioning for him to come outside. Fed up, he went to the door, contemplating whether or not he should call the police. As if they had read his mind, the boys insisted such an action was unnecessary. All they needed was to use the phone. He refused. Sorry about that, I had to get some. So he refused. He watched in horror as one of the boys continued to stare up at the security cameras, while the other ventured to the back of the building, watching the cameras as though they could see what he was doing. With frayed nerves, right, I think. He contacted the police, watching the teenagers in the video feed the entire time. When the officers arrived on the scene, he could not locate the teenager anymore, despite the fact he never tore his eyes away from the video fed. Number 3. A boy by the truck. On March 17, 2008, a 12-year-old boy had a bone-chilling experience in an outlet parking lot. While waiting in his mother's truck for his mother to finish getting a haircut, he saw a boy walking across the parking lot. Thinking it was a friend from school, the boy banged on the window until the other boy turned, realized it was not his friend, and the boy in the truck watched in confusion as the strange kid walked up and stared through the window. The boy caught one glance at the other boy's solid black eyes and knew he was staring into the face of evil. "You must let me in," the black-eyed boy demanded. Panicked, the boy in the car crouched under the glove compartment. After several minutes, the black-eyed boy finally appeared. When the mother's boy returned to the truck, she informed her son that the black-eyed child had come into the salon demanding the keys to her vehicle. Thankfully, the boy's mother did not give in. Number 4. When we come back, I'll be reading number 4. We're back with the story. Number 4, Bumps in the Night. I have my brother sitting next to me.
Hi, guys.
and we're gonna get into the story. Alright. One night, a man was dozing in the spare bed in his infant daughter's room when he heard a strange bump outside his house. Initially, the man thought nothing of it, believing it to be the family cat. But the bumps continued. The man checked the porch, but the cat was nowhere to be found. He then walked into the kitchen and found two figures lording outside his front door. They knocked on the door. Both were boys around 10 or 11 and gave off a pungent, moldy odor. Maybe use your telegraph. Hold up, guys. What would you do if they asked to borrow a telegraph? And it's like early at night.
I would say go find your own or get a job.
I probably would have shot him.
I probably would have ran off and almost pulled my pants.
I mean, if I was in this position and I heard that and they just jumped out, they just randomly appeared like that, I'd be normal at first, but then pretty skeptical considering it's
if I would have saw
10 or 11
eyes,
and there's two little boys walking in my front yard. Yeah, no.
And if I saw somebody with black eyes, I'd be like, yeah, you better get out before I call the exorcist.
Oh my god. I'm gonna call Sam and Dean. They'll know what to do. Anyways. One of the boys said, looking up at the man. To his horror, the man realized both boys had eyes that were completely black. Ignoring the odd remark about a telegraph, the man told the boys he didn't have service in his house and shut the door. As the man slowly made his way back to his daughter's room, the two boys thumped on the wall. The man clutched his daughter to his chest as the boys incessantly knocked against the window. Okay, first of all, you showing up at my door and asking that with those black eyes is enough. Now, to come to the window, that's when you're about to get shot.
That's when you're called a peeping Tom.
No, that's when you're about to get shocked. The eerie eyes and awful presence made the man too scared to fall asleep. He remained crouched on the floor of the room for several hours, fighting to ignore the knocks that occurred every couple of minutes. The moment his wife's alarm clock went off, however, the knocking ceased, and the black-eyed children were nowhere to be seen. 5. Treats and tricks. We'll come back and read it here shortly. Alright, guys. One October day, a man was walking up to his front door when he realized that his neighbor hadn't set out his typical array of Halloween decorations. He spotted his neighbor and asked him about it. The neighbor informed him that a terrifying experience the year prior deterred him from participating in Halloween that year. It was around midnight, the neighbor recounted, when he heard a knock on his door, thinking it was a late night band. Oh, thinking it was a late night band. A band of late night trick-or-treaters. The man grabbed a bowl of candy and shuffled to the door. He swung the door open and was about to greet the two male teens when his body came rigid with fear. Both boys had pitch black eyes, void of any white around their irises. One of the boys asked to come in and use the phone. Luckily, as he was overwhelmed with dread, the man refused. And that's the end. We'll be back to read Cryptic. Welcome back with the 6th story, Cryptic Beauty. One evening, a recluse living in British Columbia decided to see a scary flick at the local movie theater. Already on edge because of the film, he leaped from his chair when he heard a knock on his door later that night. Each step he took towards the door, the man felt a sense of dread flood down his spine. Nevertheless, something compelled him to open the door. Standing on the front porch was a beautiful teenage girl. The man guessed she was around 6 feet tall. She had beautiful blonde hair. "May I enter the premises?" the girl asked, looking up at the man with solid black eyes. Horrified by what he saw, the man screamed and slammed the door in her face. He marched to his bedroom, pulled out a gun, and sat in a chair in the corner until morning. Hours later, the man went to retrieve his mail. The black-eyed teen was nowhere to be found, but the word soon was etched onto his front door. Ooh, $100. The ones that got in. Oh yeah, this is long, so I'll definitely wait a little bit. Besides, I'm hungry, so I'll be back. On November 19th, 1992, a man was watching Evil Dead while his wife and children were sound asleep in the room upstairs. It was 1:30 a.m. when he decided to head to bed after the movie was over. Suddenly, there was a loud pounding on his front door, and what stood behind the door would change his life forever. There stood a boy and a girl, 8 and 11 respectively, who never looked up and were standing barefoot in the Michigan winter. Despite his anger, the man allowed the children to enter and allowed them to phone their parents. But when he went to lend them the phone, they were gone. In the dead of the silence, he heard the first scream coming from one of the upstairs bedroom. When the man reached his wife's room, he was met by the devastating sight of his wife in a pool of blood and terrifying sounds of the bones snapping and ripping flesh, and saw the bare feet of the children. He had just let them in his home before he could act. The bare feet children moved swiftly to his kids' room and locked the door. Despite the man's best efforts, he could not help his children and stood helpless behind the door. When the act was done, the door slowly creaked open, and there stood the barefoot children covered in blood. As they stood indefinitely with awful grins and eyes completely black like the devil himself. Number 8. Did the cat go away? When we return. And we were back with the story, Did the Cat Go Away? In early November 2012, a woman was up late watching a movie with her cat. When it suddenly leaped off her lap, the woman was left stunned as she followed the cat into her laundry room, but the cat refused to leave it from its spot. Oh, that's kind of scary for a cat to do that.
Yeah,
when she opened the door,
Because cats are usually the ghost finders.
When she opened the door, the woman was met with 2 children, a boy and a girl. However, there was something strange about these children, who just stood there, looking into her house, weren't wearing costumes or holding any buckets. The boy suddenly asked the woman if her cat had left, which arose concern in the woman. So you're saying, "Oh, has your cat left, ma'am?" And you're like, "Oh my God." I can see why.
How would you even know I had a cat if the door was shut?
Good question.
That's as soon as I went to the police.
Anyway, so let's get back to the story.
Yeah.
Then the girl whispered to the woman, we need to get inside. The boy was staring at her and grinning. Feeling fearful, she noticed that their eyes were completely black. The woman shut the door and called the police. Police only found footprints that led to the forest behind the woman's home. It wasn't until months later that the woman found a makeshift bed in her garden shed. Not in the middle of Story 9, not in the middle of nowhere. Whoops. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Alright, not in the middle of nowhere. On Thanksgiving of 2015 in suburban Africa, a woman was enjoying the holidays on her own in her house. When she heard a knock, it was around 7:30 p.m. When she heard a knock on the door, believing it to be her neighbors, she opened the door without looking. However, there stood 2 boys outside of her door with an eerie stance. They avoided any eye contact, but kept insisting to enter the house. The woman became hesitant, which is when the older of the 2 boys became persistent. It's in here they finally looked up, and the woman noticed they had completely black eyes. She shut the door on them, but they continued to knock the door. Eventually, she fell asleep during the early morning with all the lights on, the TV playing. But when she awoke, she found all the lights turned off and the TV filled with black and white statics. There had been someone or something in her house. But I thought if they come to their house to kill you.
Maybe she just got lucky.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, she didn't let the man, so if they got in by themselves, I guess they couldn't really do any harm. But that is the articles or the 9 encounters of the Black-Eyed Children. Subscribe, hit the likes up, and I'll do more videos about this. And what do you think we should do next?
We should do a reaction video.
No, I don't do reaction videos. I do
scary
stories and real encounters and stuff like that. So I got 2 choices. I'm gonna let them decide in the comments, and us decide on whatever we think we should do, but they still have a say so. So yeah, tell me what you want to hear next. And yeah, so here's my choices. Would you Hunter, my brother, rather do the assassination of JFK, John Franklin F. Kennedy, or John
F. Kennedy?
Yeah, whatever his name is. Or do you want to do the demonic Mothman?
Those sound very, very, very non-realistic.
Oh, no. JFK actually happened.
Oh, yeah, I know the JFK one, but what about the Mothman? Did that one really happen?
I don't know. They said they seen him on the bridge in a collapse. But that's another video.
Hey, you know the funny thing?
What?
There was a girl in my school class.
Yeah,
we called her JFK.
Was she assassinated? Okay, don't give me that look. Don't give me the winky face. That's sexual. That's not okay. Anyways, subscribe. Let us know what you want to hear next.
Bye bye. Okay.
Anyways, like and subscribe.
Ooh, who is that?
The Black-Eyed Children. No, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video.